Hey kids, do you like pro wrestling? Well, we like pro wrestling too. This week in the news, AEW might have been fibbing about All In attendance in the lazy river of wrestling criticism, a preview of Crown Jewel Perth. No Vader Club, I'm writing solo. I'm Jeff Hawkins. You can follow Chris Novembrino on his Instagram at DOCTOR_NOV. But Chris Novembrino is no longer doing Shake Them Ropes. So you can follow him there. Go congratulate him on his life event. Very excited for him. It's not news I am allowed to disclose because it's not mine. But he can over there. Tell him congratulations. That's not why he's no longer doing the show. It's a personal matter and won't be litigated here. He has an open invitation to record audio or come on with me, and that door will remain open. I have nothing but the utmost gratitude for him for doing the show for the number of years he did it. I mean, this is not easy. We're not paid, despite what some people thought. I had somebody who thought I made $100,000 at Fightful, which is ridiculous because I still had a day job. If I was making $100,000 at Fightful, I wouldn't have worked at a law firm. But when Rob left, I was not happy. I was upset. I didn't want to rebuild the show. And Joe Lanza thought the two of us vibed in Dallas, and Chris had been doing some audio. He had done Lucha Underground audio, and thought we'd be a good fit together. And we were for a number of years. It is hard to do this show. It is hard because we are not focused on any one company. We watch most of both companies in the States and occasionally other things and pay-per-views and classic matches because we started Vader Club because we just weren't interested in the current product, to be honest with you. And the show has changed. It changed from when Rob and I were doing it to when Chris and I were doing it. It was a different personality, and he stuck with it. And I have nothing but the utmost thanks for that. Yeah, and if he wants to come back and do audio, I will find a way to do audio with him. Might be doing 2 shows a week, but you know, that's the price we pay, isn't it? So now the come to Jesus meeting. What do I do with Shake Them Ropes? Well, up until this afternoon, I was going to end Shake Them Ropes. I didn't want to rebuild again. I didn't want, I'm 52, kids. I'm not young. I think I'm the oldest wrestling podcaster other than Wade Keller and LaGreca over on Busted Open, and they make far much more money than I do. Oh, Meltzer. Yeah, Meltzer, of course. But they're journalists. They don't really count. LaGreca is really the only one who's a podcaster on wrestling. I haven't been feeling wrestling lately either. I haven't enjoyed myself. WWE and AEW both have significant problems, and you can listen to the podcast that Brian O'Connell and I did, where I kind of explained the things. It is a tough slog to get through the week's content and then come on here. I enjoy podcasting. I enjoy talking. And that's and talking with Chris is part of what got me through it. And, I was sitting there and getting ready to record, and I sent off a tweet today, a DM, to Rob McCarran. And I said, would you be interested in doing any wrestling content by chance? And he said yes. Which shocked me because I fully expected him to say, no, I got my career I'm thinking about. I'm happy being married. My wife won't let me watch wrestling, whatever I thought was coming. But he said yes. And so starting next week, at least for 1 week, Shake Them Ropes will go back to being Rob McCarran and myself, but this time I'll be in the driver's seat until we get a feel of what the new show's going to be. It's, to quote the Wild Bunch, it's not like it used to be, but it'll do. I don't know what the personality will be. I don't know if we'll even vibe anymore. We may do a month and quit. I don't know. I have options. I could go back to Fightful and do like a Raw review, but I don't want to be stuck on one show. And Fightful has a younger demo. The people that I enjoy doing audio with over on Fightful have their own, tent poles over at Fightful. Joel does the morning show every day. He does a great job over there. Sean Ross Sapp, it's weird. He's been doing solo audio for so long he may enjoy it, but I also I don't want to watch Raw and review it because I was miserable doing that towards the end before I got the job at the other law firm. But and I enjoy doing fight game media with Paul, but that's mostly because I like Paul. It's not necessarily Dynamite that I enjoy, but looks like you're gonna have me around for a little bit longer at least. And again, thank you so much to Chris Novembrino for stepping in when Rob quit and doing the show for almost twice as long as Rob did. No animus here. Go and follow him, DOCTOR_NOV. I hope in the future that we can patch things up. But it's not going to be immediate, and I know that. So, anyways, in the news, WrestleNomics broke a story about AEW and may have told a little tiny itty bitty fib about their attendance. See, when WWE started the bidding wars for WrestleMania, AEW got in on the action too, and yes, the city of Arlington was going to subsidize them because AEW promised a certain number of spectators for usage in the baseball stadium on a day that baseball wasn't happening. And I believe they promised something like 32,000. Well, the final estimate by WrestleTix of tickets distributed was 27,245. But the count was 21,973 spectators. That reflects the number of tickets scanned for people who actually entered the venue. Number of tickets sold or distributed, which they couldn't confirm, could differ significantly, and the final estimate by WrestleTickets was 27,245. As they say, it's not unusual for the number of tickets scanned to be substantially lower than the number of tickets distributed or sold. Remember, wrestling companies still paper big houses, too. They give away tickets locally so that they have a full house, etc., etc. But what this did do was it triggered a reduction of the subsidies. It was originally going to be a little bit over $1 million, but the more than 25% off the promised number triggered a reduction to about $700,000. Now, the big to-do in our world, at least on the Twitterverse and whatnot, is that, you know, Tony Khan fibbed about the numbers or whatnot, and I'm here for it. I said this last night on the Dynamite show. I kind of want both companies to be less truthful to me in some ways. I don't care about ratings. I don't care about attendance. I just want both companies to put on an enjoyable product. I don't care which one's hot or cold at the time necessarily. It's fun to watch the horse race, but I have no horse in either race. I just want to be able to enjoy wrestling, and I haven't been of late. But Tony Khan, what happened around his company was there was this veneer of good guy, bad guy. And, all WWE does is they lie. They lie about their attendance. They lie about ratings. They lie about talent. They lie. And Tony Khan is Mr. Honesty. He would never steer us wrong. He would never, tell a fib. I'm here to tell you, wrestling is all about deception in many ways. The art of wrestling and the business of wrestling. It's all smoke and mirrors, kids. P.T. Barnum would be proud right now. I get it, though. I mean, there's something about younger people where they want, I guess, for lack of a better term, they want corporate responsibility in some ways. That's not exactly the terminology I'm looking for, though, because, I mean, corporations are mostly responsible because they have stakeholders and whatnot. But they want the companies to hold the same morality that they do, and companies aren't really in moral businesses. They're there to produce a product, and they're there to sell you a product. It's one of these things where I just find it, I find it very odd the way that people ascribe, like, things like Act Blue and Red Republicans have a site too where it's like, don't buy them because they give money to Democrat causes. Don't buy from them because they give to Republican causes. And I always just thought Michael Jordan had right. He was like, everybody buys shoes. But I get it. It's something cool. But I couldn't believe the number of people who were like crestfallen about Tony Khan fibbing to them, as if Tony Khan has always told them the truth, and this is the first time, that their child has lied to them, and it's just so weird to me. Anyways, two movements in the WWE ID program. Zeta Steele announced that she was not going to renew her contract. I believe she's probably, from what I've read, she's a big Mercedes fan and she wants a match with her. And I think she wants to try and angle her way into AEW if that's her dream. Go for it. Kylie Ray also announcing her deal wasn't renewed. That's not as much of a surprise given that she just got pregnant again. I just didn't think, well, it's not going to be renewed, so it's not really getting fired. So they can still do that. But by the time she comes back, she's going to be in her mid-30s. I view WWE ID as kind of a 1 to 2 year, does this person have it to be a WWE style, WWE product, whatever you want to call it, that style of wrestler? Can they be a linchpin? I thought Kylie Ray had a shot this time. I thought she was kind of on that fast track to eventually at least being semi-regular on NXT in the underdog role. I said with Brian on the show a couple weeks ago, man, she should be raking in the money, but her own things got in the way, especially with AEW, where she was going to be probably the top women's star, at least to start out with. Who knows what happens with backstage politics and whatnot, I'll put it that way. But people are like, oh, WWID, it's falling apart. It's not that. It's not a permanent solution, and it's not necessarily a fast track. If they thought you had something, they'd sign you to NXT. They're not sure if you have something, so they're letting you work it out, and they're waiting to spend their money for later. I have no problem with this. It's like having a baseball farm system, and WWID is kind of that single A ball, maybe double A ball, because double A, you get brought up from like single A to triple A to the majors, or is it double A to the majors? I don't remember. It used to be triple A to the majors, and then for some reason it got reshifted, where AAA were people under contract and people in the majors doing rehab and stuff, and then people would just get brought up from AA and past AAA. I don't know the politics of baseball anymore. I just watched the Philadelphia Phillies pitcher throw away a ball he should have thrown to first. Dodgers going to the NLCS. That's something. But anyways. But yeah, the downturn in wrestling and wrestling ratings, the big story this week in wrestling media, if you're not attuned to that, is that there's a new rating system, and it's hurting wrestling unnecessarily because they're not classified as sports. So you don't know who's really watching on a 3-hour program because it hasn't been turned on, other things. And apparently viewership in wrestling has gone down significantly compared to other comparable television programs. Okay. But sources indicate to Bodyslam.net that WWE is undergoing creative changes to their team to overall improve the product. Road Dogg will continue to be head of creative for SmackDown, but there will be additions to the team to make the show more enjoyable moving forward. I don't know if SmackDown's a problem per se, kids. It's on a Friday night. That's a hard night to watch wrestling. It's also, I don't think it was necessarily creative's fault that they had what to me was an absolute home run program, and that everybody involved in the program decided not to buy in on it. That's the problem to me. The John Cena heel turn was, we had energy on this show about the heel turn. We kind of, we made up our own story in that there were multiple people in the Elimination Chamber who maybe The Rock, tried to buy in on, but neither The Rock nor John Cena wanted to be full-on bad guys in the story for the most part. They have their movie careers to think about. And Dwayne, Cena wasn't Dwayne's first choice. Cody was. And I think that's the moment where Dwayne goes, well, I'm not going to help you with this story then. Good luck. And then Cena really, he didn't buy in. He really didn't want to do things that messed up his merchandise sales or went against the aura. It was more, I think he wanted to ironically be seen as a bad guy, and it just didn't work. Like, people wanted to see him as a bad guy, and he just became no personality John Cena. He wasn't going to try and sell it. Like, if he came out and he started scenery chewing as an arrogant heel, that would be something. But instead, it was the stone face, no emotion. You, the audience, oh, you did this to me. It's your fault. No. If he had reveled in his heeldom, this thing would still be a legendary moneymaker, and he would have just done the face turn going into the home stretch. But it didn't. And because nobody bought in, it's like watching bad acting. You know, if you're not buying into your character, then the audience isn't going to buy in. So it failed all the way around. Raw has its own problems. Boy, Jimmy and Jey Uso do nothing for me right now over there. I'm kind of getting into lazy river territory, but I'll try and stay out of it for now. I'll hold off on that for now. But let me finish the news, get to the preview, and get out of here because no Vader Club and no reason to hang around right now. So. Re-signings, Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods have both been reported to have been re-signed with WWE. Get paid. I'm liking this heel run. I wish they'd do more with him. Shockingly enough, Santos Escobar's contract ran out for a couple days, and then he turned around and re-signed with WWE. The reports coming out were that his, quote, creative concerns were addressed. Now, there were rumors that the belt that Dom won in AAA was going to be won by Santos Escobar. I still believe that a lot of this is going to have to do with Santos Escobar doing double duty for AAA as a guy who can cut promos in both English and Spanish, and maybe an attempt to make a crossover star. We loved the old King Cuerno here, and we loved Santos, especially some of his presentations in NXT. I think he got a big pay raise, and you're not getting a big pay raise here when you're at Santos Escobar's level unless you're gonna be working more or unless they're gonna make you a star. And I think they're gonna try and make him the star for AAA. I think that's gonna be the goal. Look, no offense to Dom. Dom gets, I would say, ironic heat there, but he doesn't look like the poster for a wrestling promotion. Santos Escobar does. And I think that's what they're going to try with him. And hey, get paid. More power to you. Odyssey Jones, who, by the way, is a tag team champion with Zion Quinn, is pursuing a long-term extension in All Japan Pro Wrestling. Good for both of them. Zion Quinn got brought up to the main roster and never used. Formerly married to Harley Quinn. Not Harley Quinn. Harley Cameron. Harley Quinn. Harley Quinn's a fictional character. Odyssey Jones, to me, got railroaded on the charges of abuse by an ex-girlfriend. And look, you don't have a right to a job. I get it. But once it came out that these charges were played up a little bit, I would have re-signed him if I were WWE. I think if you pull the trigger too quick on a firing, you have to be quick to rehire the guy back if it appears that things aren't right. But good for him. Injury at the AEW taping last night. Kota Ibushi, broken femur. This guy, all his injuries happen at once. Later part of his career, he does crazy things for years, and then all of a sudden, you hit that cliff and the body breaks down. I think he was going to be planned into whatever Blood and Guts for the Men they had again, but it appears those plans are going to have to change, as well as anything having to do with Kenny wanting to do a Golden Lovers run in AEW. But yeah, from preliminary reports, broken femur. That may be subject to change. With that, we'll get out of the news and we'll go into the lazy river of wrestling criticism. SmackDown appearing at 8 a.m. Eastern tomorrow morning, this being recorded on Thursday night. So 5 a.m. my time. No, I'm not watching it live. I may watch the second hour live. I'll be up by then because I work East Coast hours too, but I come in at 9. I'm not waking up at 5 a.m. to watch wrestling. I'm not a New Japan guy. I don't do that stuff anymore. 5 matches announced, but one may be announced on SmackDown. You never know. Looking at this card, definite B show, but with A-list talent to me, because it feels like all the baby faces should win these matches in terms of the popular baby faces. So there has to be a swerve in here, and I'm going to try and figure it out as I go. First of all, in an Australian street fight, Roman Reigns versus Bronson Reed. I think the era of Vince jobbing you in your hometown is over. So I'm going to go with this one possibly being the swerve. I think Bronson Reed may win this street fight with help from his friends in the Vision and possibly help from one Brock Lesnar, I think. I think that's a good possibility here. Rhea Ripley and Io Sky versus the Kabuki Warriors of Asuka and Kairi Sane in a tag match. They've been playing up the abuse angle with Asuka and Kairi. Io has been very melodramatically sad. I would not put it past them to turn Io and do a little bit of Stockholm Syndrome with Asuka and Kairi. The problem is, look, there aren't many powerful heels in the women's division right now, and Io is over like Rover as a babyface. And I don't think people want to boo Io. So I can't get on board with that because I don't see Asuka as the alpha of a group right now. She can be an alpha to Kairi, and I don't think Kairi's going to turn. I think the conflicting thing on Kairi is a total swerve, and she's going to join in. It's just, people were talking about Horseman beatdown here, and I could see that, once we're going to recrown Rhea and Io's the champ, but I just can't see that yet. I think the Io loss to Rhea will be when both are baby faces. And it's going to be, everybody's going to do the, respect and both these women and women's wrestling and chant like that. So I don't see Io Sky turning heel here. John Cena versus AJ Styles. We'll see. I think John Cena's winning this. The match with the jet lag is going to be very interesting to me. I know it's one of those things where the mind is willing, but the body may not follow for John Cena. AJ is still spectacular at his age, but he's also been doing these types of matches forever. He can do a great 4-star match in his sleep if he wanted to, as long as John goes along with it. It's just John's going to want to do some things, and that's where the trouble might start. Singles match for the Women's Crown Jewel Championship. Stephanie Vaquer versus Tiffany Stratton. I think you gotta go with Stephanie. She's the hot hand right now. She's the hottest thing in both women's divisions. No offense to Tiffany Stratton, who's been a good champion, but not a great champion. She still plays the one-note samba. She's still Tiffy time. Doesn't matter if she's babyface or heel. And because she's tough as nails, but there's no real depth to the character. It's not that Stephanie Vaquer is a deep character. It's just that her stuff is far more over than Tiffany Stratton. So I think you give her the Women's Crown Jewel Championship because these things don't mean anything. And then Cody versus Seth. This could be a convoluted mess. You could give this to Seth. And he could get on his high horse, and it could cause tension in the Vision, including the alluded to possible replacement of Seth by one Brock Lesnar. You could have Brock come out, F5 Cody and F5 Seth Rollins, because Brock is his own man. But I feel like this is a people-pleasing pay-per-view. And I feel like Cody Rhodes is going to win this. So I'm going to go baby faces across the board, except for Bronson Reed. This is another early show. I believe it is also at 8 a.m. Eastern. Don't quote me on that one. It might be 11 East, or 11 Eastern, 8 Pacific for the pay-per-view. But let's see. Does it have a time here on here? It does not have a time. So I'm not going to try and mislead my audience. I'm just going to move on to a few different quick hits for the Lazy River. Let's not overstay our welcome. Head-to-head, NXT went up against AEW and crushed them almost by 2-1. But you'd expect that on a night where AEW isn't regular. People are creatures of habit. Baseball was on. NXT is on network. You can make any number of excuses you want. But NXT, the TNA, did its job. It was a hard sell for the TNA pay-per-view on Friday. I thought they had the match of the night, too, between Ethan Page and Mustafa Ali. That was a gift to Mustafa Ali. That was, yeah, you got screwed. Come, do your North American title match. We're not going to belt you, though, but we're going to give you the title match you wanted to bring the house down with. Ethan Page is so awesome. Just not only as a heel, but just being a bass to the guys who do a lot. He's kind of like the bass clef to the treble clef, doing a whole lot of notes and stuff. He's just the solid bass line going throughout. I love that dude. But other than that, you knew they were going to kind of go 50-50 on the two multi-person tags. They did a contrived Joe Hendry should have looked out for his TNA brethren dirty ref moment, but both refs called it down the middle and didn't show any bias. It was fine. It was cromulent. I'm looking forward to Javon Evans for the X title because I think he's going to win it. Just don't put him in an Ultimate X match and kill him, please. Just don't kill him. That's all we ask. Let the man have a bit of a career. Thank you. AEW, I'll get to in a sec. I just had a couple quick hits about Raw. The Maxine Dupree countout was stupid. It was just why I hate these finishes because they think it gets people over and it doesn't because Becky's got to come right back and beat her clean as a sheet. The count is like 1, 2, and they get to 7, 8, 9, 10. You're just like, are we going to make Jessica Carr a dirty ref? Because they should make her a dirty ref in this case. Who maybe she's friends with Maxine and she just hates being mistreated by Becky over and over again. I'd be here for that. I'd be fine with that. But just give an excuse why the count was turned up just for that spot. Yeah, I don't like for big wins. You gotta pin them clean. You just gotta. Like, even if they had done the same thing in AEW with Lacey Lane, and boy, what a fart in church that reveal was. More on that in a moment. But if you're gonna do the upset, it has to be clean. It has to be on your own. It can't be a distraction. It can't be a count out. It can't be a DQ. It has to be the clean pin if you're gonna make somebody a star. And it can't be a banana peel. It can't be a roll up. And nobody learns this because everybody's so afraid of beating somebody with box office draw. And it's so weird to me because, like, if you think somebody has something, you put them in the program with the big person, you give them the win. If you don't think somebody has something, don't do the angle just to do the angle. You don't get half of a rub on someone. And Maxine, look, she's very well liked. I'll tell you that much. And she's improving. But she should not be having long matches on television. She should actually be sent down. But they don't do that. They have too much pride to send somebody like her back down for more seasoning. But this doesn't get her. It gets the crowd pop. It's the funny pop. It's James Ellsworth getting a win pop. It's not Maxine's going to be a new star here in the company because Becky's an idiot and bragging and she got a fast count from the ref. You have to explain those things. And it drives me nuts in any company where they don't explain what I clearly just saw. And back to Jimmy J and Roman. I feel like I feel like we're in a baseball game that's gone into extra innings, and I'm ready for this game to end. There's no oomph there. There's no spice to the Jay and Jimmy story. It's always Jimmy doesn't have as much of a personality. Jay's been getting pushed. Jay gets angry. But Jay is still also a one-note samba at this point. It's a problem in WWE throughout. It's especially in NXT, though. NXT is unwatchable because everybody has their hook, and they only have their hook. Jay and Jimmy has yeet. And he had good but not great promos as the champ. And we still have him as wanting his rematch as champion. But he has two guys ahead of him who also have more. They have more rights to get the match. Both LA Knight and CM Punk are both more interesting and have more of a claim to the throne to me than Jey Uso. Roman doing his static character that he's been doing forever. Look, I love it. It's a great character. But let's see a wrinkle in there. Let's see something out of him. Let's move on from, he's very close to being heel John Cena in that he's just stone face and grumbles. And I kind of want to see, if he's a babyface, let's see, people want to see Roman being fiery babyface again or something. Give me something out of the Roman character. Give me something out of any of these other characters within the Bloodline story. Because Jacob Fatu's back. He's great. Solo has kind of found a personality, but the story is still, we're all Samoans and we're all sticking together in this way. Give me the Uber stable, man. Give me the Don Callis family, but all the Samoans in WWE. Something. And make it about, we're making a play for all the titles. And we don't care about your rules, and management won't do anything about it. And have them put out Nick Aldis. And have them put out Adam Pearce. And say, what are you all going to do about it? And that's all I want. I just want something, because... Okay, the Usos are now Roman's lackeys again. Great! We haven't seen that for the last 3 years. It's a boring story to me. And I'll end on this one, because I've been taking some strays over my comments about Hangman Page not being a good champion. And we had another example of, with some coaching and with some studio notes and with a firm hand on creative, we could do something with this Hangman character, but the problem is we take too long to get there. So we start AEW with Hangman and Joe. We have 3 beats to this story. We have the Hangman exposition, we have Joe with his retort, and we have Hangman getting angry. Now, steps 2 and 3 were awesome. Step 1, though, kills the R of step 3. Because here's what it is. It's plain... How do I put this? I won't call it Superman. I'll call it the Flash in some ways. When you have a hero who is so boring that it's up to the villains to make the hero interesting. So Page comes out and he pulls once again the Kyle Fletcher thing, where it's like conciliatory. Oh, thank you for helping me make me the champ. And thank you for watching my back. And oh, Joe, we have such common ground together. And then he kind of goes into heelish things to undermine his goodness. Hey, remember when I was an arsonist? I don't want to hear my main babyface talking about burning down houses. I get what they're trying to do. They're trying to give him an edge like he's Stone Cold Adam Page. And I don't think we want him to be Stone Cold Adam Page necessarily. I think we want him, we want him to be, I guess Magnum TA is a good comparison, but I don't know. But Joe comes out And Joe gets to his point quickly. He goes, everything you said is true. You're a fraud. And that's his take on it, because it's like Joe is still kind of in the right about the whole 6-man tag belt thing. But he comes out and basically says, you're a fraud. So he's healing in this feud, but we also kind of don't believe it because we assume he's going to be a babyface again after this feud and go back to the op. So he can't heal too hard. He can only say, I'm tougher than you. And then Hangman, once you call Hangman a fraud, now he's angry. Now he's sticking up for himself. Now he's doing the things we want to see him do as champion. And if he would just start with emotion and get into it, he would be so much better off than the preamble stuff. And, if you had cut out that entire first beat and we start with this face-to-face and Joe just looks at Hangman and goes, you're a fraud. You're not as good as I am. I remember who I am. Whatever. And you just see Hangman seething. And he goes, I'm not going to quit to you. I'm going to make you tap or cut, or you got to try and make me tap. I'm going to fight out of it. And I'm going to pin you. And then I'm going to shake your hand and you're going to like it. Then we'd be going, oh, okay, here we go. He has some, he has some heft. There's something going on in this football game and I have no idea what it is, but it's very interesting. Brian Dayball is very pissed at something. Anywho. Yes, I am multitasking while doing this show. My apologies, everybody. But yeah, no, it's one of those things where Hangman, because of this conciliatory, because he needs to find common ground with his opponents every time, comes off as weak. And he doesn't need to be arrogant, but he needs to be confident. And he doesn't get that confident until something in the opposition gets him going. And I wish they would just get him going and then get to the opposition. And to me, if he's going to be a strong champion on this second run, we need a run through, and we need to not say, okay, that sounds good on television because we're doing the exposition. We just need acting notes here in some ways, and we can get there. And look, Joe... Joe, just with the look of, or whatever, is the most interesting wrestler in AEW. I love this guy. Shout out to Ricochet for the knee pads over jeans in the street fight. Did not understand why the Hurt Syndicate got the win, because I still think at least one of them's on their way out. They just don't fit in with the oeuvre of AEW. They are WWE guys stuck in there. I love Shelton, and he can do the banger matches, but they're also giants in a land of small guys. That's a problem. Lacey Lane reveal should be an object lesson to AEW. Do not do surprises unless the surprise is going to pay off. Now, I heard Dave Meltzer yelling about, wow, she got no reaction. And she was a WWE person. Was she? Was she really that? I mean, yes, she was on the main roster. Did her and Catanzaro get any wins worth a damn while on the main roster? Not really. Were they pushed as special? Not really. They were up there as your mid-card tag team. Kind of like the Secret Service in a way, but on the babyface side. It shocked me that Dave did some crowd shaming for this show, because it's like, well, what are they supposed to get fired up about? They're watching good wrestling. They don't get heated wrestling. They don't get angles. The Jungle Boy squash was the Jurassic Express squash was one of the best things on that TV to make people stars, in my opinion. They looked strong. They got their moves over. Jungle Boy looks right into the camera and gives a look that makes him look like $1 million. I thought that was spectacular. I wish they had plugged the Darby appearance more. Like, Darby's in the arena and he's crazy. And we lead up to the Molotov cocktail moment, and God bless us, we had competent security for once in our lives. We had a security guard that was badass and stopped a major moment of danger. Signed the security guard. He's frigging awesome. That's all I have for my lazy river. It's hard doing solo audio for me because I need somebody to talk to. I'll have that next week with Rob McCarran. Looking forward to it. Looking forward to having all of you back once again. Follow Chris Novembrino at DOCTOR_NOV. Just because we are feuding does not mean that we don't want the kids to have relationships with both parents. Please go there. Congratulate him. Go see what I'm talking about when I say he has very good news, because it's a very joyous occasion. You can follow me at CrapGame13 on X. You can follow Rob at Rob from Indiana, all one word, on X. I'll see what his socials are on other places later, but we'll get to that. We're going to rebuild again, kids. For that, I'll see you next week. Bye.